Welcome to Toodlebox, the app that lets non-developers create mobile applications for business. Today we're going to focus on form builders. If you haven't watched it already, we have a high-level overview of Toodlebox and what it does. Form builders are one of the 5 basic building blocks of a mobile application for business. And today, that's what we're going to focus on. In this video, we're going to show you the canvas, the form items, form item rules, and validation. Then we're going to create the travel reimbursement form. After that, we're going to take a short field trip and use it in real life so that you can see how easy it is to use. Canvas. The canvas is the empty slate where you could drag form items into. There are 2 columns where you could place 1 control each, which makes it optimized for a tablet. But when you view it on a phone, the controls will be stacked on top of each other. When you drag items into the canvas, you can move them around and you can change the titles of the items just by placing a cursor on the text and typing. Form items. There are 4 categories of form items: basic, advanced, special fields, and business controls. Basic controls are your normal controls such as text boxes, check boxes, multiple choice, and such. Advanced controls do more sophisticated things such as grabbing GPS coordinates, accepting barcodes, and performing calculations. Special fields are information that are part of every submission, such as who is the current person performing the submission, who or what the subject is, what is the title and description of the submission, and others. Business controls are purpose-built controls that perform very specific actions, such as the distance calculator. For the distance calculator, for example, you could specify an origin and destination, and then it will calculate the total mileage and average travel time between those 2 points. Form item rules. Each form item has the ability to be disabled based on a given condition. The best way to describe it is to show this simple example. We have a yes-no control and a text field. If you answer yes, the text field becomes visible, but if you answer no, the text field is hidden. Validation. You have the ability to make certain fields required or not required. This is actually a very complex implementation, but the way you set it in the app could not be any simpler. All you have to do is select the control and then place a check under its required field. So we went through a lot of the details of the form builder in 2 minutes, and there's a lot more that I have not gone into. We're going to save a lot of those details for other videos that are going to be more in depth. For now, what we're going to do is we are going to create a sample form. The sample form that we're going to create is a travel reimbursement form. The travel reimbursement form is something that any company should be able to use, and we're going to be a little bit more fancy than usual. The travel reimbursement form sample we're going to create will have a distance calculator. So we will be able to specify our starting point and our destination. And then we will also be able to specify our destination going back to our starting point. And after that, the form should be able to calculate the total miles that has been accumulated for that entire trip and then populate a form that you could submit to accounting. So let's start by going back into the form builder. Forms, form types, and these are our other forms that we've been working on. Let's create a new one, and we will call it the travel reimbursement form. Let's change the color to orange. All right. So we're going to fill up the canvas with typical things that you would see in a travel reimbursement form. And here we would say team member, which means who is the person filling up this form. And on the special properties, on the default value, we're going to put user.name. User.name is one of those bracketed values that we're going to have a deep dive on in another video. What it's going to do is it's going to populate team member with the name of the person filling out the form. And then after that, let's do a date. After the date, you always need a travel description. Like, what is this thing for? Let's change that to say travel description. And then let's create some dividers. Let's use a group label for a divider, and let's call that origin trip. So for an origin trip, we would want to be able to have a departure and an arrival. So let's just make it clear. This is the origin departure, and this is the origin arrival. And then after that, let's go into our business controls and put in the distance calculator. And let us call this the origin details. So the distance calculator will take the value of this and the value of this, and based on the difference, it will calculate the number of miles that was used for that trip. Let's set up the distance calculator. The origin item, which is where you started from, will be this guy. And then the destination item will be this guy. Now we have our origin trip section. Let's create a section called return trip. So let's do the same thing. Let's create a group label. We will call this the return trip. Then let's add our GPS controls. Then let's add our distance calculator. Let's add a signature block. There. Didn't mean to put it there, so let's bring it back down over here. So now let's name these properly. So let's say return departure. And let's call this return arrival. Then let's go to our distance calculator, and we should call this the return trip details. And for this, our origin item will be our return departure, and our destination item would be our return arrival. Then let's go ahead and publish. Okay, now let's take a look at it from the tablet. Let's start. Let's create a travel reimbursement form. And as you can see, the team member is populated with the HOA admin, which is my my username over there. Let's put in the date. Let's say this is a Starbucks run. Then let's do an origin departure. Got the GPS. An origin arrival. Got the GPS. It's the same address actually. So the return details is going to tell you it's 0 miles. And let's do a return departure and a return arrival. And then similarly, it's 0 miles. So one thing that we forgot to add would be our calculation field. And the calculation field will be taking the value of this and then adding to that the value of this so that we would have our total miles, and then we would multiply it with the reimbursement amount. So let's go ahead and do that. So the calculated field is an advanced control that we will want to put down here somewhere. And let's call it total reimbursement amount. So the way you do calculated field is you use the brackets. Same kind of brackets that we used for this guy. But this time we are going to say I want the value of this, add to that the value of this, and multiply by a number. So we are going to say origin details dot result 2 plus return trip details dot result 2, and then we'll put a parentheses in that, then multiply it by 50 cents. So result 2 is another one of those bracketed fields that gets one of the values from the result of this. Let's publish this again. And then let's go back to the tablet. So we published it. Let's do a sync. After the sync, we should be able to see that new field in our form. So total reimbursement amount is 0. Of course, because it's 0 miles here and 0 miles here, 0 plus 0 is 0. So when we do a field trip, we're going to do this where I start from where I am right now, and then we will end up at Starbucks, and then from Starbucks, we will go back to where I am. So I got 0 reimbursement. Let's just put a sad face, and let's mark this complete. And let's take a look at our submission. There's our travel reimbursement form. Let's take a look at, and there's my sad face right there. So I'm here now in my car, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna leave from here and open the form, and then click on the checkout button for my departure. Let's create a new travel reimbursement form, and the date is today. And travel description is let's call it the real Starbucks run. And the origin trip, let's do the origin departure. Let's leave it alone, and then let's press that origin arrival when we get to Starbucks. So now we're here at Starbucks, but they're closed, so just our luck. Guess there's no coffee for us. But while we're here, let's go on and finish our form anyway, because I did drive, and I want to make sure I get reimbursed. So I already have my origin departure. I'm going to do my origin arrival. You see it's different address this time. The distance calculator now calculated 2.3 miles, approximately 7 minutes from the departure to the arrival. And now that I'm here, I'm going to do my return departure. And then when I get back to my origin, I will click the return arrival. All right, so we will see you in a bit. I'm now back. So let's open up the app again. And I'll press my return arrival. All right, so it says 2.3 miles, and my reimbursement amount is $2.30. So let's do a little smiley this time. Hit done, then hit complete. So let's take a look at our report that got generated from that travel reimbursement form. Here's our travel reimbursement form at the top. Let's click on this little printer. Here's our report preview. We scroll down, we see the happy face. And what we can do is download a PDF. And here's the PDF all ready to be sent to accounting. So this is just one example of a form. The possibilities are endless. Whether you want to build an order form, a quotation form, a timesheet, Toodlebox can do it for you. If you could see yourself using this application for your business and you have any questions, feel free to contact us for a 30-minute call. If you would like to reach us, you could send an email to sales@toodlebox.com, leave a message at www.toodlebox.com, or leave a comment down below. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next one.